right, we're live.
All right, hello and everybody, and welcome to another edition of Comics That Influence. I'm Jake, and I'm here with Kurt, and we're going to take turns going over some comics that we always say we try to analyze the best comics that we can get our hands on, and today's no different. I'm just going to see if it's better if I turn this light off. No, it doesn't make a difference. Oh yeah, maybe I should have it on. So, I ordered something off eBay because I had an alert. I was looking for a comic, and I had an alert for it. I found the comic. It was the Art of Abrams, and I was looking for. I couldn't find it cheap, so I said, let me put an eBay alert in and see if I could get a copy for like $3 instead of like it was selling for like $15 everywhere. So I got an alert one day, and it was only like $3, and so I ordered it, and then I'm paying like $6 shipping. So I'm like, all right, let me see what else the seller has. I'm not telling you anything. Everybody does this. If I'm going to save some shipping, I make it worth my while, and I'll get a couple other books. Let's see what else the seller has got, because there's plenty of dealers on eBay. I don't know if these are comic stores or if these are just individuals, but I found all these from this one seller, and these were not dollar comics. Like, these were like $2 to $3 a piece. So I'm digging deep, but I found what I found, and then I sent Kurt the link for the sloppy seconds. I don't know if you looked into that, to see if there's anything on there that you might want, but I had already gotten like the best cheap ones that I could find, and this was one that was magazine size, so he sent it separately. But I love this cover, and it turned so. This is going to lead to a lot more research needed, because
Whoa.
this is Story and Art by Roland Brown, 1993. And this is printed by Fantico, published by Fantico, who I have heard of, but I don't know, not too familiar. And this is cool. They're making like a fake ad, but I love this guy's painting style. It's because it looks just to me like Ranks Rocks, or it looks maybe like just really good like watercolor painting, just like And then we got the muscular woman here. I don't know if that face matches the body so much, but I'm not going to get too critical. Inside here, we see his pen and ink. So this is all one guy, Roland Brown, and it's called Girl Squad X. So I'm like, what am I getting myself into here? And it says mature readers, but it's not dirty. It's just like kind of like spicy. And look how great the art is. Look at this
Wow.
look at this hatching. This reminds me of like Tim Vigil. This reminds me of he's got some zipatones going on here. He's got a great style. So this just goes on and on. Muscular babes. It just goes on and on like this. And I'm wondering, this is Girl Squad. It doesn't say the number, but if I'm looking online, I see there's some other ones. So this might have been intended to be a one shot, and then it ends up being, more of a series. I don't know. You know what else this reminds me of? What's his name? The guy that does all the hero comics and first comics. Beecham. Yeah, a little bit of influence of Beecham, but great stuff. Look at this, and sci-fi-ish. They got cops with flying cars in this future. You have all these big interiors. You have all these glam babes. It's a little manga-ish here. With the diagonal. So, without spending too much time just on one comic, that was Girl Squad. So uh, more investigation needed. This one I'm not going to go over because this is an adult comic. This is The Exhibitionist, put out by Eros Comics. So we won't get into that. I'll look in that later. Look at this. This is my collection of Doomsdays. I have one or maybe two of these, and I didn't have this one. So I always pick up these very early John Byrne um, pieces when I can. 1975. This is pre-Marvel John Byrne. And I just love John Byrne's style because he was the one that simplified noses and he made it okay. And to just draw a little V as a nose, and
Or
the
two
rest,
dots.
or the two dots, right? And everything else, he had a very quick but functional style. So maybe one day I'll get all my Doomsdays together, Doomsday plus one, and we'll actually get into it. This one I am going to open up because this was the one I was looking for, and I finally got my hands on it. So the Art of Abrams, and these sell for a lot of money. What I think these are coffee table books, but I got here a floppy put out by Lightning Comics, and let's take a look for the first time. The Art of Abrams, 1996, Lightning Entertainment. Um, so Paul Abrams is the creator and penciler, and he look at that. This is just like total Frazetta copy guy. This guy's right on the in the style of Frazetta, or at least he's trying to be. Now I think he must have done a whole bunch of comics. Well, look at this. This is great.
I
And
think he was even involved with Bad Axe,
yeah,
or at least those
that
that
publisher,
publisher in those comics.
right? That publisher, right? It's but he was like maybe like a cut above of some of those other guys because his anatomy, his styling. He's into these warrior babes and everything.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with him. I actually reached out to him years ago and asked if I could ink one of his pieces. So
Right.
he just randomly sent me one of the. I think it was a Red Sonja. I saw a Red
Yeah.
Sonja pin up, and I was like, "Ooh, can I ink that?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So
Well, if you can get him on the show, that would be great. We can go over his whole career. But he does credit an guest inker Gary Barnes. Never heard of Gary Barnes, but color separations, Gorilla Gravity. I guess he means the cover because this whole thing is black and white. But I would say this guy. I'm surprised that we haven't heard his name around even more. Um, this, I don't know if this is the inker. This might be the Barnes guy getting into this kind of like image stuff. To me, this is, I'll show you, like here, these little like sawtooth edges. To me, that's like imagey. And when you do this fade off, here on the breasts,
yeah,
to me, that's just imagey and it goes in the wrong direction. I want to go in the direction of like Wrightson and Brunner and Frazetta and Vigil, where it's decidedly not that direction. Here, it looks like he's embracing the green of the paper, right? Uh, that's nice. So this is just a pinup book. There's no story here, but some pencils and some inks, and all this, babage, I guess, and just one after the other, after the other, after the other. So that's the whole book. And this is great. This reminds me of the Bad Axe style, and this reminds me of Frazetta. I think he really put like some of his best things up here in the front. Nice, nice. I'm glad I got this, and I only paid three
yeah.
bucks. So, the Art of Abrams. Next, um, Necrophasia, Volume One, London Night Studios,
Whoa.
featuring Demonique, and also premiering Lupus, a wolf guy, and Doctor Nimbus. Um, and this looks really involved. I'm not what you think it says. So I guess we'll open that at another time. The Furies is carbon-based comics. I was like, what the F is this? And I really feel like opening these and looking inside, but we'll save that for another day. We'll do some like indie, collection stuff. This was put out in '96 by Nap with a K, Nap, and I'm always on the lookout for superhero team stuff, but I'm usually disappointed when I open up the insides. Usually it's like sparse, you know, on and the same thing with the action with the AC comics. It's like the covers are great, but then the inside's sometimes a little sparse. Maybe they're on a deadline. Um, I picked up this Cadillacs and Dinosaurs created by Mark Schultz, but it's the Wild Ones, a spin-off, a totally new Xenozoic tale by Thomas and Maroto.
Huh.
So now I have to open this up because if that's Esteban Maroto, the Philippine artist that was like a merc that Marvel started using, then I want to see this. And then of course this cover is Linsner, so it's a very attractive cover by Joseph Michael Linsner. But let's see. Woo! This is Esteban Maroto and Carl Gafford on colors. So Maroto pencils and inks, written by Roy Thomas. How about that? How about that? Look, motorcycle babes.
Oh, that's a catch! Wow.
Now this is not Maroto's usual style, and I'm gonna like take issue with the color here. The color's way too garish. You
It's the
know,
'90s.
it's the night, yeah, but colors. I mean, you shouldn't have such a wide, like every page is a rainbow. This one is a little bit more of a color.
Every page is a rainbow.
So yeah, this looks great.
Whoa.
This is yeah, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Mark Schultz is like, all right, man, it takes a lot out of me, to pencil and ink one of these. Maybe we can get some other artists on the case. And Roy Thomas said, I'm in. So it says Roy Thomas writer, and then there's a backup story with art by Steve Stiles. So let's see him in the back. I guess that starts where? Here. It's only a couple of pages. Oh, he's nice. But there's only a 3-pager or 4-pager. No, it's only a 3-pager. So that's the Wild Ones, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. This is the one that I wondered if you know about.
I got it.
You got it, AC. All right. Yep. So this is reprints. Oh, CROM is in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is all reprints from where?
Yeah. It's all Golden Age stuff.
And so John Junta did the CROM stuff, and then Wally Wood did Captain Science, and then Sid Green did the Flame Goddess.
Yep.
Great. And is it color inside?
Nope. It's black and white.
Black and white. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna check that out. I got my Bad Axe #1.
Nice.
Right. So we were just talking about that. Cover by Faust. And this is really nice example of gray tones inside, right? If I remember right. And we interviewed the writer on our pod. The writer is Paul O'Connor, right? And he did a lot more besides Bad Axe, but this really got my attention. Like, this is great, man. Look at this. And the artist is Kent Burles, the pencils, and the inks were James Baldwin. I really love this series. So I never had #1, so I'm gonna get into it, and then I'm gonna put it with #2, and put them together. This guy has a great style. There's a great balance here of gray tones. We were talking about that earlier, of whites and blacks and grays. So nice stuff. And then, we spoke about Paul. We spoke with Paul, the writer, about his inspiration. This cover's a little dinged up, so no wonder I got this for 3. But the cover stock is very heavy, and it's also very glossy. I never knew this was going on. So if there's any collectors out there, you want to see a great series. Adventure Comics, Bad Axe. It's like 3 issues, I think, right?
6, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, then I gotta.
Yeah, I got them all.
I gotta get back out there and start collecting. All right, just finishing up my stack here. Warren Ellis and Anna Mercury. Facundo Percio. So I think Warren Ellis is the writer, and he's a name I think I remember. Avatar Comics. I know Tim Vigil worked for them for a while. And it looks kind of European from the outside. Let's take a look on the inside. This is an ad for Dr. Sleepless, Engines of Desire. So this is a trade paperback volume 1 that I guess was coming out or came out. But let's look at Anna Mercury real quick. Ooh, look at that. Full color. And the artwork is all Facundo Percio. He does the colors, the inks, and the pencils. And that's it. And this cover was Felipe Matafera. I guess that was. This comes out in 2008. And so let's just look through a couple pages. So it's a superheroine named Anna Mercury, and this is issue number 1, I guess. Doesn't say. It's not numbered, but she's going through her paces here. A lot of strained faces, and some of the pages are a little sparse. Seems like it opens up after a while. So a lot of silent sequences, but pretty good art. You got the shower scene. I'm kind of surprised that they have such like a black and white ish cover, and then color on the inside is kind of misleading. Not a lot of dialogue. So Anna Mercury number 1, and then here you can see this is number 4, painted edition, sketch edition, wrap, and then Dr. Sleepless 9. Oh man, these guys are off and running. All right, Avatar Comics. They did their thing. This is like about 15 years ago, and that's that. And my last one is
Wow.
No,
I have. Where's my copy? I just showed that off in my.
Yeah, I just gave you one of these because it was in my my box that I was selling.
Yep.
And I don't know if that was my dollar box, but we worked out a trade or whatever. I don't know if I ordered this. I think the guy sent this to me as a bonus. These comics bow, so I got another one now, and I'll look through this. This is good Japanese stuff.
Love it.
Kid characters. This one doesn't look like as good as the other ones. It looks like a reprint too because the blacks are not as sharp, so it looks like a copy of a copy. But bow, there's some bow for you, and that, folks, is my report.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then over to me. We've often talked about the type font that was used in Deathlok, where the computer's talking to Deathlok. And I just, for some reason, felt like trying to find a cheap Deathlok. I think I even got this for like $1 off of eBay. And then, of course, added something else, which was also like $1, just to save on the shipping. But, man, I mean, you can't lose with 70s. This is 77 Marvels.
So that's quite a bit later. Deathlok premiered in August of 1974. Astonishing Tales number 25. So I think they had the computer font in the first, and that was created by Rich Buckler. I think they had the computer font right in the very first issue of Deathlok, and I could even see them creating the whole concept around the computer font. That was such a big deal.
It was. As a kid, this was such a. This was one of the few comics that I would, when back bin diving, look for, because I did not get this when in the 70s. I definitely came across this in the late 80s. Going to shows and comic book stores and doing digging for just looking for stuff. But just marvelous storytelling. Great character. There's actually a recent video that just went up about Deathlok. I'll try to find it and put a link in the description. It was really good. It was really quick, 15 minutes maybe, and gave a lot of wonderful insight to how it rolled.
Yeah, I mean, Deathlok was Marvel's first kind of like post-apocalyptic wasteland comic, I believe. You
Was
did it.
it was it Killraven? Was
Well,
Killraven
you had
considered?
you had Killraven also, but I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
who came out first. I'll look that up in a sec. But you know you know I mean, Commandy was, kind of like a post-apocalyptic comic,
Most definitely.
and DC was doing that to capitalize on the Planet of the Apes. So, Marvel didn't have too much of it. Everything was set in this like present-ish, time period, except for maybe like the westerns or something, and and they didn't mess around with the future too much until much later when they got into like the 2099 series, Spider-Man 2099, and then you get into these multiverses and all that stuff. So later on, but in the 70s, this was pretty new, for them to get into that arena. Killraven first appeared in 1973 in Amazing Adventures, and so that was Roy Thomas and Neil Adams. So if you can get your hands on Amazing Adventures number 2, what? No, number 18, and that's Neil Adams art. So that's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, I think was it PK Russell is the follow up to that.
Yeah.
So it might have been that first issue might have just been a Neil Adams to get people all juiced up, but then they let it go down to the new kids.
Yeah, it says Amazing Adventures Volume 2, number 18, May 1973. And I think, oh yeah, look, so it had on the cover, it didn't say Killraven at the masthead, it said War of the Worlds.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that was a series, I think, right?
yeah, and they
Or no?
show these big, three-legged, alien craft.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I didn't remember, but Killraven was a character they invented as in a world where the War of the World invasion is happening. So I guess they had free reign to create because it was public domain, War of the Worlds at that point. Of
Who
course,
knows?
that was the famous Orson Welles broadcast, and War of the World.
Radio.
Yeah, the radio broadcast, right? So I don't know if they got permission or in 1973.
I mean, it could have been a real cheap license. You know what I mean? At that point,
Right, to make a comic version, who cares, right?
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, but yeah.
So it was first published in 1898 by H.G. Wells, The Martian Invasion of Earth. I don't think by 73 it would have necessarily been public domain because it's like a 90-year look back. But certainly
No, it would have been no. Back then, it was I think 70 something, 75 years.
right.
It's only in the last like 20 years that Disney's changed. Because of Mickey Mouse. They're the ones that lobbied and changed the gearing.
Right, that was
But before
last
then,
year.
it was like it could have even have been like 68 years or something in 70.
Right. It's
Or
well, it's 98 years. Right. Right. Thank you for correcting that. But yeah, we know that the H.G. Wells estate always has been licensing because there was War of the Worlds radio broadcast in 1938, and I don't know when H.G. Wells dies, but the movies have come out, and we've seen plenty of. I mean, I guess Killraven is like just an offshoot, That would be interesting, and maybe somebody will do a YouTube on the Killraven's backstory. But yeah, you got the Deathlok there, and Deathlok was like the second Marvel character to come out in a post-apocalyptic world of any note that I can remember, anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and so the not to spend too much time, but I picked up a Dagar. If you don't know me by now, anything sword and sorcery is completely up my alley. Um, and this is let me refresh myself. This is a Jim Galt and Jesse Santos.
oh, so if you ask, is World of Worlds public domain? The book. The work is in the public domain because it was published before January 1st, 1930. So I guess it was just it was public domain 1973, and I guess making a comic character is all free. It's all free and fit.
They would have legally gone through somebody that was managing the estate because there would have been even. I find there's publishers that will, wrangle in the IPs and basically consider themselves the domain of. So
Yeah, I would love to find out the story if anybody does that. Now there was a Marvel Classics comics that did a comic version of World of Worlds, but they do that with everything. They do that with
yeah,
Prisoner of Zenda and Ivanhoe and everything. But they just kept it rolling, with the Killraven character. But for them to use War of the Worlds on the masthead seems like they would need permission, right?
don't know, don't know.
Hmm. Interesting.
I still think they would have tried to either done it in a gingerly way that they were getting away with it because you can always move back then or I think even now 7 changes to an IP and you know make it your own. But once again, we're not um, attorneys or in the legal department of putting that forward. But I just always find it to be interesting that the material has a life of its own, obviously within society. But then to build upon it, I think is always a challenge, and I think that's what the Killraven thing spawns itself out of. Is like, oh hey, what if because that's another popular thing Trader Marvel would do is like, what if this guy is a comic book hero, was fighting these 3-legged aliens that come down on his world. It could be War of the World, but it might not be Earth. It might be some other world.
Right.
I can't remember. I remember years ago really being into Killraven and being into PK Russell as well. Yeah, just don't retain that much on the way of
Yeah,
information.
well, the Killraven ran from Amazing Adventures 18 to 39. It's quite a nice, decent little run. There was also some stuff that came out later in 2002. But according to this, I'm just on a random Reddit post. According to this, Marvel was just following up on the rush to get into licensed characters following Conan, Solomon Kane, Red Sonja, and
Yeah.
Thungar. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so and they also say that War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells is probably one of the most important science fiction novels ever because it solidified concepts like aliens and alien invasions, which has
Yeah.
become like one of the most common themes in its own
Yeah,
genre, really.
between Wells and Burroughs, Edgar Rice Burroughs,
Yeah.
it's all about everything is constantly being born out of that. It's just amazing. The way it just really pushed people's imaginations and people took to it.
P. Craig Russell, Don McGregor, they had some good artists on the case, so real good thing, real good stuff.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys don't know about Dagar the Invincible, this is a solid pastiche Conan, blonde haired. It's got a sidekick. The one thing I actually enjoyed about Dagar is the feistiness of his companion, where she holds her own as a character inside Dagar's story, but just real simple, working off of the pastiche and tropes of sword and sorcery and running the hero, the maiden, the sorcery, the wizard, and some kind of monsters and stuff like that. Just really good stuff. And there's like 13, maybe 15 issues of
Issues.
this comic. So I could not resist adding this to my
Yeah, that's
order. So
Gold Key is got some great stuff, and sometimes you see these on these collectibles YouTube, broadcasts. You find some of these gold keys. Excuse me. They're not so common. They are being collected in good condition because they were just kids comics, and Gold Key was a little different from Marvel and DC in their distribution. So this might have ended up in like supermarkets and department stores,
yeah,
which just get into the hands of little kids who destroy comics, And you're showing some interesting stuff there. It looks a little bit like Esteban Maroto, actually. It looks a little bit like those
it's
Harry Cheekin and those kind of guys.
Jesse Santos. You're going to want to hunt down his work, and he did a lot of work for Gold Key and solid stuff, just really solid. Um, and I really really enjoy his version of the barbarian. He doesn't go completely, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And he has this, I call it the swimmer's physique. In other
Right.
words, he's like broad shouldered and narrow hipped.
Yeah.
So there's not really a good, let me see if there's a good.
Right. It isn't like the mass.
Yeah, I mean, here, this is a great figurization of, there's not like a lot of bulk other than like in those shoulders and arms, and tapers it at the, I really identify as, if you're going to be somebody out there as a barbarian like Conan, you're going to have to be a little more nimble than, bulky and weighted down.
Yeah.
So I really gravitate to this. So this is some great reference material for me as well. And then with my CROM Anthology, one of the ideas I've had as filler, when you need that page to help move pages, to be together when you do a page turn or something, so you'd have something as an insert in between all the sections that will be in CROM Anthology.
Yeah.
I was thinking it'd be really cool to 1200 DPI scan and get some close-ups. And then, just like art wise, like really like focus in on a panel and do the Roy Linked Shine pop art type of like I already see this is a really cool panel that would be cool to have blown up, to 8.5 by 11, and then give credit where credit's due. So this was just it's gonna have its value. As things go along. But these are two nice little pickups, and we'll always be doing that. Add it to the collection. But
Dagar the Invincible.
yep.
Those covers are amazing. Painted.
Oh yeah, the paint. Yeah, and Santos did the paintings as well. So Gold Key, I think, is a very underestimated publishing company. And just like you said, it was like, and I always ended up with comics like that from my mother, or as a birthday present, somebody was passing through the grocery store and they're like, "Oh, Kurt likes comic books. Grab a couple of these and stick them in a gift box, and that'll be good for Kurt." It was always good and everything. So, and I was never that. My first 3 comics were Charlton 3-pack was done by Modern Comics,
Yeah.
and it was Hercules, Haunted Love, and then what was the third one? I think it was another romance book.
See
But
that, folks? The Hercules got in there deep in his brain.
Oh, right out of the gate.
And
a really good issue too. So, but yeah, that's all I got. I know we got to get rolling here. So,
yep. So,
once
folks,
again,
thank you for tuning in to another episode of Comics That Influence, where we do flip throughs. We're gonna go through. I'm gonna go through a couple of the books in my stack in more detail later. The ones I didn't open up, and as soon as we get off, I'm going to show Kurt the dirty ones. So
thank you. But we one of the things we have talked about, and I want to try to push for, is that we do have some duplicate issues between the two of us, so the two of us can do a side by side, and we both have the same comic book issue. I can't remember which one it was. It was Hot Stuff.
Right.
Hot Stuff Comics. So I think that might be the next one we should plan for. But either way,
right. And
in a couple weeks we'll have.
I do have a box of Harvey Hot Stuffs too, but that's not what Kurt's talking about.
Not what we're talking about.
Yeah, and folks, if you want to buy any of these, make us an offer. We're not like in the business of making profits and everything here, but we do have to. At least I do. I have to lighten my load, and after we spotlight these in a pod. I'm fine with selling these things off. So, if you want to buy a stack of comics, get in contact and we'll talk about it.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
So, folks, tune in Sundays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time for the making of Turbo Pit Fighter. You can check out our channels and see all of our indie creator interviews. That's called our Indie Creator Exchange. And look out soon for another episode of Comics That Influence. I don't know when we're going to tape one, but these are great to kind of clear the backlog, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. All right, Jake, I'll see you next Sunday.
All right, Kurt.